Well, hello neighbors, John, your whiskey neighbor here. Welcome again to my kitchen table. And today I want to talk to you about a special Canadian release. This it's a Canadian Club. It's called Barley Batch Limited Edition, and it celebrates 160 years for Canadian Club. Well, thanks for staying with me through the break. As I said, this is a special release from Canadian Club. Canadian Club is a big brand, produced out of here in Walker. It certainly is one that will be available to anybody watching this. It's one of those, like Crown Royal, that is all over the world, and part of why we are the third largest by volume nation that produces whiskey. Something like that. And generally, I have to say, I'm not a big fan of Canadian Club. It tends to be a little bit of that sweet Canadian whiskey that's okay, but doesn't really keep my attention. This is something different. And actually, why I wanted to review it today is because it's different. The last few reviews, I've been coming up around kind of that 3.5 star value, and it's just kind of felt pretty mediocre lately. And I had this, I opened it up a while ago, I haven't had much since, but this is a unique whiskey. I don't know, well, a limited edition, everything I've heard about it is that really it's not going to be lasting very long. Let me talk about the whiskey, and maybe if I don't know that much about the history. I know a little more about the makeup of the whiskey than the history of the whiskey. So, Canadian Club, as I said, pretty standard, easy to find Canadian whiskey, and it is lots of corn. They use rye, both malted and unmalted. They use malted barley. I don't think they have any wheat in their production. They're somewhere in this spectrum of what Canadian whiskey normally is. Like, in the U.S., it's more about the mash bill, right? You're creating the right grain mash, grисting, and malting and doing it together. In Canada, generally, not universally, but generally, Canadian whiskeys certainly will malt and distill each grain separately. And actually, it's quite common that they are aged separately. Then after whatever age the distillery wants to put on that barrel of grain spirit or whiskey, well, it'll be whiskey at that point, they usually blend, in a big vat. Sometimes they might recask for a period of time and then release. Canadian Club, as I have read on their website, so I assume they're not lying to us, they actually do distill each grain separately, but then create the blend that they'd like, and then age the blend the length of time that they'd like. So the regular Canadian Club is about a 5-year-old whiskey that's had the grains, again, individually distilled, but then they've been together in that barrel for about 5 years. That's half of the bottle. Actually, we don't know the ratios at all. But that's there's part of this, which is just the regular Canadian Club. But then, as I heard, they found, or not found, they went and got a 6-year-old malted barley from Alberta Distillers and added it. Now, I don't know the ratios, but that's how they came up with this to celebrate, in celebration of our 160th anniversary. And they put it out this year. So that's the history. It's released at 42%. No comments about coloring. No comments about filtering. It's fairly light, with an age of around 6 years. Usually their casks are all ex-bourbon, so it's tough to know whether it's colored. Likely it's filtered because they'd mentioned it, but at least it's a little bit stronger at 42%. Let me talk to you about this whiskey. This is an interesting nose in that it's not roll over your senses. It's kind of a soft nose. And you'll get the molasses, sugar, maybe even a bit of a dark fruit but you'll start to get something else. And it's the something else that kind of has me excited about this bottle. And it's probably what you will really not like or appreciate in this whiskey. I could see this as a polarizing whiskey. For me, the something else starts gently in the nose, and it is a real grain quality. So some of the sweetness, you got honey and whatnot, but you're already getting a hint, like if you've grown up in the prairies or you've been on farms, you've probably been in not a silo. What do we call those grain bins? You know, they're square on the prairies, a lot of them, but then we all upgraded to bins. I'm not a farm boy, but I've got cousins and relatives that are farm. And I've been in my fair share. I've walked in piles of grain. I've been in there, and there's already that dusty, cloudy, burlap sack grain quality. Almost more than any whiskey I've had. But it's not strong on the nose. You might almost miss it. It's just like an edge of dust. But let's give it a taste. And I don't even have to spend, I need to spend more time with it, but it is immediately in the palate. So there is some sweetness, but lighter, really light sweetness, like honey, light sugars, but, and actually it's quite coating, really enjoyable in the mouth, feels full, not quite chewy, I won't say that, but it's like, this is good stuff. Finishes a little clean or a little quick. But coming back to what I was kind of excited about, so I kind of spoke over myself, that little bit of, well, now I can get it more in the nose now that I've had my first sip of it this night. So now I can get those malt sugars, that barley note, that just genuine grain, barn, silo, grain bin. Maybe bready, but it is all over the palate for me. It's all just that toasted barley. Maybe if you haven't been in a grain bin, you might get it from an breakfast oats. You might get it from oats. You know, like if you have some quick oats or something. And you might smell that, and that is so present in here. And as I said, I think that might be polarizing. It might be something that feels unfinished, or something that really you don't taste as pronounced in really any other whiskey. And so because of that, it might put you off. But I believe this is an excellent whiskey. I think it is so much better than the regular Canadian Club. It still has some of that sugar, toffee. Well, not much. No, more honey. It's got some of that. Maybe dark fruit, a little bit of fruit in there. Notes that's probably coming from the regular Canadian Club side. But just such a unique, malted, grainy, sugary, dusty experience that I am very thankful that I picked up this bottle. And why, on a tough day, in a reoccurrence of winter, it's come back like a vengeance today. I had a moment to shoot a video, and I thought, I'm not looking for another 3 to 3.5 star. I guess this is okay whiskey. I wanted something with character. So clearly, I like it. I've said it a few times. You may not. It's the kind of whiskey that if your store lets you taste before you buy, I would taste, because you might really not appreciate it. I obviously really do. And so to me, this is a 4.5. Like it's a good whiskey. And for the value, it sits around, between 45 and 55, depending on where you're going in Canada. That's Canadian dollars. But unique experience, limited expression. I certainly haven't had really anything quite like it. And so I think it's worth considering for sure. Yeah, 4.5 stars. And I'm very thankful to have it. And I haven't had a chance to share it with anyone yet. And I'm hoping next time I get a few friends over that I can pour just to see what their reactions are. Because sometimes when I'm giving recommendations to you guys out there, it's so good to have heard back from a few friends or a few people, because then I can tailor my thoughts a little bit like, well, I like it, but everyone else hated it. Anyways, thanks for joining me. Appreciate you coming on, and feel free to comment. Tell me if you've tasted this or if you've had anything that sounds like it, anything, you know, with that really grainy, dusty grain note. Let me know. Be cool. Thanks for dropping in. You guys have a good night.